What do you want to know? What do you want to find out? It's no good to say this topic is important, so we should ask questions about it. We should make observations about it. Every question may be important for people's lives in some fashion. But the question is, what are the decisions that need to be made now or in the period for which this is going to be the best information available? That's the question. We usually don't even have that much influence on how many resources are made available. Funders tend to make their decisions based on other criteria and a sense of the magnitude of it before we're able to actually get around and find out how much. But we do, if we're doing a good job, help to say, whatever resources are available, here are the key priority issues to act on right now. Don't waste your time doing measles immunization if the immunization rate was already high in this population. But so many people have been injured by debris that tetanus immunization is going to be an important topic soon, and we have to act now if we're going to prevent a lot of unnecessary cases. That's where information can make a difference. We gather information, if we're doing a good job, from multiple sources. Even if you're just going to observe, I have my observations as an observer. I have other people's observations as observers. I'm talking to people when I'm there who live there or who have been there before. I have information from how it was in this country or this region, if not this community, before the disaster happened. So I have a bunch of different pieces of the puzzle. I never have the whole puzzle. But if you have 3 or 4 of the 8 pieces of the puzzle, you can make the picture and communicate it to somebody else so that people really do get to communicate their story. You need multiple sources of information. Village leaders, local government representatives, religious representatives. Don't go ask everybody the same thing. Once 3 or 4 have told you the same thing, you've reached what we call saturation, which is to say, I see the picture. I'm getting a consistent picture on that point. Move on to the next question. And gather information from people in their households. But when I say that, what most of the resources that go into assessment after disasters go into large-scale household surveys, and that's often not the right way to do it. In the first weeks, it's not the right way to do it. If you haven't prepared well, haven't got a sampling frame so you know just where to go, so you get a representative sample, it's not the thing to do. But it's always relevant to look at the conditions of someone's life when you're talking to them and find out more, at least the 3 or 4 pieces of the puzzle, so you can compare and contrast them to make some sense of it. Your job is not to put words in people's mouths, but make a systematic summary of the information you've gotten from people. So start by summarizing the data, but don't give mountains of data. We often collect 10 times more data than we actually use. I never in my whole life have had somebody say to me, gee, that report of 5 or 10 pages wasn't long enough. If you actually know what's happening and can summarize it well, you give some summary data, you put some graphs, some photos to give more of a feel for it, and the analytical description to make sense of that for people. When you know what the situation is, when you've thought about it and compared and triangulated well, you can do that probably in 5 or 10 pages. And in fact, there isn't a person in the world who's going to read all 40 pages. You can actually tell much more of a story in 5 or 10 pages, and people will pay attention if it's useful, important, and interesting, and directs itself to the questions that need to be answered about where do we put the next dollar, where do we put the next staff, where do we put the next office geographically. Then information drives action.